Call the meeting to order. And if we can all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I have a motion to accept tonight's agenda, please?
Actually, Ms. Davies, this is your role, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so do I have a motion to accept tonight's agenda for the reorg meeting?
So moved.
So moved.
That was David and
Michael?
Michael.
Michael was the second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. So the first thing on tonight's agenda will be I will administer the oath of office to Jane. So Jane, I guess you stand and put your hand over your heart and recite the oath.
Oh, I don't have it.
Okay, so Jane, repeat that. Pauline, do you have it to have her repeat?
Yeah, I have it on my computer, but it's,
No worries. So repeat after me.
okay, thanks.
Okay. I, Jane Wisner, do solemnly swear
I, Jane Wisner, do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of trustee
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of trustee
of the Irvington Union Free School District
of the Irvington Union Free School District
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Jane.
Congrats, Jane.
Thank you.
And next on the agenda, I get to declare that the nominations are open for the office of the President of the Board of Education for the 2020-21 school year.
Before we make
I'll
any
nominate Brian Friedman.
Before we make any nominations, could we have some discussion about the role of the executive team? Would that be acceptable?
Go ahead, Michael.
Have we done that before?
Well, actually, not when I first was an attendee at school board meetings, and even in the first few years, there was zero discussion around the process of electing the executive team. And then over the last several years, I've shared comments about it, and I would like to encourage the process to be transparent in terms of better understanding for the board and the community about the role of the executive team and the process. So essentially what
I'd like that opportunity with you. That's all.
What's that?
Said it would have been nice to have that opportunity when you were the president 2 times.
Yeah, so
That's a good idea.
at that time, I actually invited people to speak. So you did have that opportunity, Dave.
Yes, sure. Okay, happy to do it.
Great, thank you. So essentially, if anybody else wants to speak, I'm happy to wait. But otherwise, I just have a few comments, which is, I think when I first joined the board, it was difficult to understand the process by which the executive team was selected and its role. But over the last number of years, we've worked together. There have been some changes from expanding the board from 5 to 7, from moving the executive team from 2 to 3, and the creation of a governance manual, which really lays out the protocols of how the board operates, and it also spells out the role of the executive team. So I think that's all been very helpful. I would say when I first joined that there was a lot of turnover, and the dynamics often weren't as effective because there weren't clear protocols. So hopefully we have that to work with now. And to your point, Dave, I've been interested to hear nominees speak to what they believe the role of the executive team is and what they hope to achieve in serving on the board, or any commitments they like to make, just so that it's a more transparent and public process. It happens differently in different districts. In Ardsley, they rotate through. In ours, it's an informal process in which people speak to each other on an individual basis and ask for someone to nominate them, and then that nomination occurs and there's a vote. But I guess what I'm hoping is to see that continued progress towards using protocols and process to having a more effective board. We've done things in the past like hold retreats together to talk about the role of the board and to develop a better functioning relationship with the administration. And the governance manual is one that I hope that we can commit to in terms of maintaining strong protocols. And so in that spirit, in terms of those who would be nominated, it's up to you, but I would ask that you consider sharing why you would like to serve on the executive team and what you think the role is, or any commitments you'd like to share. So with that, I'll leave it to the rest of the board.
I nominate Brian Friedman for President of Board of Education.
Before you nominated, did anybody else want to speak?
I just wanted to say something. I believe that in light of what Michael is asking, that we need to get our nominations in before we discuss who the nominees are. So
But I mean, if anybody wanted to comment based on that general discussion before we start the nominations, and if there isn't any, then obviously Dave should move forward with his nomination. Doesn't seem like there is, so Dave has nominated Brian.
Is there a second?
I second the nomination. Thank you.
Okay. All in favor?
So
Aye.
Pauline, just procedurally, you just need to call to see if there are any other nominations before calling for a vote on Brian's nomination.
Okay. Are there any other names put forward for president? Okay.
Being none, now you can ask for a second and call the vote.
And the second, I know David nominated, and the second was Beth? Okay, great. All in favor again?
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Were there any opposed, board?
I would like to abstain.
One abstain? Okay, thank you. Okay. So now, Brian, I pass it on to you as the president.
Congratulations, Brian.
And
Thank
congratulations.
you. So now, are there any nominations for the first vice president of the board?
I would like to nominate David Graber.
Are there any other nominations for first vice president? Hearing none, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I would like to abstain.
So next we have any nominations for the second vice president of the board.
I'd like to nominate Beth Proper.
Any other nominations for second vice president? Hearing none, is there a second?
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Any abstentions?
I would like to abstain.
Brian, can I just say one thing? May I say something?
Sure.
I know that this was like a hard process for all of us, but like at the end of the day, we all need to move forward together really positively. And I think as a group, we can do a really good job and be better together and united. And we're all expecting the best from one another. And I believe that everyone will give that. And if we don't, then it's our job to sort of remind everybody like how to be the best they can be. And that includes me and everyone else on the team. So I'm confident we're going to move ahead together positively. Like, I just want to throw that out there. I know we've had some challenges, but just throw that out there that I think we're going to do a good job together. Like, it's not, sorry, Brian.
Beth?
I just want to thank everyone who voted for me for the vote of confidence. I've been working on updating the governance handbook along with all 7 of the trustees who have access to that. For example, it does not reflect the fact that we have 2 vice presidents at this time. There are other changes, and I believe that we will all do a wonderful job of communicating as an executive team and making sure that all of our trustees are working together cooperatively and collaboratively to be the most effective and efficient group that they can for the entire district's benefit. Thank you.
Can I add one quick thing, please, Mr. Friedman?
Sure.
I just also want to say thank you to my colleagues for the vote of confidence. I will also, stand up and do the job to the best of the ability and bringing the entire board together. I think that as a board of 7, we all bring enormous leadership qualities to this work. And I just, as a reminder of those qualities, I think that consistency, communication, and collegial collaboration are the 3 most critical, the 3 C's of leadership. So I certainly will bring that to the role, and I look forward to working with everybody again.
Thank you, Dave, and thank you everyone for reelecting me as president, and hopefully we'll be able to build on the work we've done as a team and continue to move forward. So,
Supporting that. Thank you.
Great. So that would, for items 4.4 then, that would create the line of authority of Mr. Friedman as president, first vice president, Mr. Graber, second vice president, Ms. Proper, and then following in order of seniority on the board, I believe would be Mr. Hanna, Ms. Geddes, Ms. Bernstein, and Ms. Wisner.
I think that is correct.
So now I can say I'm not last anymore.
You never were last, Aaron.
It's okay. That's sorry. I just feel like we need a little humor. So.
So now would be the point in time where we'd have community comment on topics that appear on the agenda, as we've been doing throughout our time with our remote meetings. To the extent any community members have comments, we request that you send them to us in writing. You can reach us at board@irvingtonschools.org, and we will respond to whatever written comments we receive. So now we have item 6.1, which is the committee and liaison assignments. So just bear with me a second, I'm trying to pull them up.
And is that on our agenda to look at? I know that we basically, you'll probably share them, but is that something that we have available?
It's 6.1, which is where we have the committee and liaison assignments. And as you know, we surveyed the board for their interest in the various committee and liaison assignments. And I think we're at a point now where I made some initial suggestions by email, and I did not hear back from anyone on that. So,
I mean, I just, from what I saw, it looked good. I know that you had 1 or 2 questions to resolve if those are.
Yeah, I think those have been resolved over the course of the day. So,
is it possible to share the names and appoint them to the committees tonight?
yeah, that's what I said. I was just trying to pull up my list of everyone so I could read it off. So we have on B and G, Friedman, Hanna, and Geddes. On communications, Bernstein, Proper, and Geddes. On curriculum, Graber, Wisner, and Geddes. On policy, Bernstein, Wisner, and Proper. For liaisons, we have CAB would be Proper, Safety, Wisner, Wellness, Wisner, IEF, Getted, PTSA, Hannah, West Pud, Graber, Southwest Boces, Bernstein, Village of Irvington, Graber, Village of Tarrytown, Hannah, and I'll be the liaison to the Booster Club.
And on the list, if anyone's looking at the agenda, it's the executive team that's on the Strategic Partnership Council in the Rivertown districts.
Yes.
Okay, and I just have asked that we point out that Wellness Committee is now a Wellness and Sustainability Committee, where we have additional community partners that hadn't existed until the previous academic year. So thank you.
Thank you.
You want a motion?
Yeah, so if we could get a motion to accept the committee appointments.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is that you, Beth, seconding?
Second.
David, second. All in favor?
Either way.
Aye.
Aye.
So now we move to 7.1, which is the appointment of the district clerk.
Oh, I know someone really qualified for that.
She may even be on the Zoom. So, but I don't seem to have the oath.
I have it, don't worry.
Okay, perfect.
I guess I should stand.
Please, Ms. Davies.
Okay. So I, Pauline Davies, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of District Clerk of the Irvington Union Free School District according to the best of my ability.
Thank you. Now we need to administer the oath to the superintendent. Dr. Harrison?
Okay. I, Christopher Harrison, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of Superintendent of Schools of the Irvington Union Free School District according to the best of my ability.
Thank you. So now we move on to the oaths for the other district officers. So start.
Brian, I do those within 30 days.
Okay.
I don't have to do it online. Yeah.
Perfect. So we will not do them here, and thank you.
Okay.
The trouble of toggling back and forth between multiple screens. So now we have our annual appointments, and if you look at the agenda, we have 9.1 through number items 11.4, which would be by consent agenda. Are there any questions on that before we move forward? Hearing none on those items. Oh, Erin, did you have something?
Sorry, yeah, I'm sorry, I was muted. I just wanted to say that I'm hoping that, I know there's some changes that are needed to be made to some of the contracts, so I just want to make sure that we're following through on all of that as we move to approve these things, that's all.
Okay.
Just some little, because I haven't had a chance to check everything.
I also had a quick question. This includes the personnel matters?
Where are you?
Correct, number 16?
We're not there yet. That's part of the regular meeting, not part of this meeting. This is just the consent agenda for items 9 through 11 now, and then when we go to the regular meeting, we have the second group.
Yeah,
So just on the consent agenda for items 9.1 through 11.4, can we get a motion to approve those items?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And Aaron, I will add that all of the contracts that appear in section 17 have been updated, and I do apologize for a couple of copies that were outdated that made it on its way to the agenda prior to my review, but those were all changed.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Carol. I appreciate
If
that.
if something was a placeholder, sometimes we do that, and then we add the right contract when we get a chance, and we didn't have a chance to do all that, so prior to your review.
No problem. No problem. I just want to just make sure everyone's aware. That's all. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Dr. Harrison, before we adjourn the reorganization meeting, do the board officers need to take the oath tonight, or is that some other time, and where is that in the agenda?
I would have the board officers do it this evening.
Okay. Should that be part of the reorg meeting,
Yes,
or
sir.
so then before we adjourn that one, the board officers take their oaths, and then we'll adjourn the reorg meeting.
So when we start, Pauline, can you share the language with Mr. Graber and then Ms. Proper?
Sure.
So I'll go first. So I, Brian
yes.
Friedman, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of President of the Irvington Board of Education according to the best of my ability.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And now we'll have David.
I need the repeat after method, if you don't mind.
Sure. So I, David Graber, do solemnly swear
I, David Graber, do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the first Vice President of the Irvington Board of Education
of the first Vice President of the Irvington Board of Education
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
I need the speak and repeat method as well.
No problem. I, Beth Proper, do solemnly swear
I, Beth Proper, do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will, oh my God, I already forgot what you said.
that I will support the Constitution of the United
States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of Second Vice President
the duties of Second Vice President
of the Irvington Board of Education
of the Irvington Board of Education
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're all
So with that, can we have a motion to adjourn our reorganization meeting and open the regular meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
I think that was Michael, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So now we have our regular meeting open. We have another point in time for community comment. And again, as I mentioned earlier, given our inability to meet in person, we've been accepting comments via email at our address at board@irvingtonschools.org, and we will endeavor to respond to any comments we receive as quickly as possible, either through the board or the appropriate administrators. So, and yeah, on that end, I do want to acknowledge that we received numerous emails regarding the decision to put a pause on the Early World Language program. We thank everyone for reaching out and engaging on the topic. It was not an easy decision that we reached, but given the fiscal challenges that the district is facing and we anticipate it facing over the next several years, we think it was a necessary step at this point in time. For those of you who will recall the discussion around the program more than a year ago, our goal always was to have a Spanish and French program, and simply moving forward, that would be increasingly unlikely with our fiscal constraints at this time to fund the program as it was envisioned, and given all of the other fiscal challenges that we're facing, the decision was made to pause the program for the time being. And I think we all look forward to the day when our finances are better and we can talk about bringing the program back and potentially even reimagining the program at that point in time.
Yeah. Brian, if I may add, certainly it was with heavy heart that we made that decision, understanding the goals and the initiative behind it, and the fact that an early world language program certainly highlighted a number of the values and goals of the Irvington Union Free School District. During this period of time, we recognize there's going to be lots of challenging decisions that the administration and the board will have to make in an effort to preserve the core programs and those programs that have been well developed over time and have been part of our known experience here in Irvington. Additionally, the timing was such that we had a secondary Spanish position that was available, and that enabled us to be able to maintain our partnership with an excellent teacher and Ms. Daskell, who we are thrilled to be able to maintain as a valued member of the Irvington faculty. That said, we recognize that there's going to be lots of challenges before us. We know that the governor has proclaimed that there are risks of upwards of 20% cuts in state aid. We have yet to see any additional stimulus monies come to the state of New York for public education. In fact, the monies that were promised to the districts in New York as a part of the CARES Act, there's question and challenge as to whether that money has been properly allocated by the governor's office and state education departments. So there's still question and challenges there. This is a time where we certainly could lend our voices by reaching out to our federal legislators to ensure that monies come back to New York to be able to support public education. And I know that the professional organizations in the area are organizing such an effort, and specifically working with Representative Lowy's office, as she is the chair of the Appropriations Committee. And so there's certainly effort that has to be underway there, but the focus really also needs to extend to the Senate to ensure that bills are passed. I'm understanding that there is a stimulus bill of $1 trillion that is supposed to be discussed at the end of August or September. But that is in relation to the initial recommended stimulus package of $4 trillion. So there's a lot of work to be done to be able to ensure that money comes back to New York State, and money specifically earmarked for public education, to make sure that we're not placed in positions where we have to see deep programmatic cuts in whether it be the balance of this school year or in the years that come.
Thank you, Dr. Harrison. So now we have our second consent agenda of the evening for items 14.1 through 17.23. Are there any questions on those items?
I just want to make a short supportive comment, which is, at the prior public meeting, I made some comments related to the hiring practices. Since then, there was also a letter that Dr. Harrison responded to, which, since I don't want to put you on the spot, Dr. Harrison, and try and remember it, I'll share just a sentence or two from it. But in the letter, which all these letters that are available on our website under the Board of Education board communications. You wrote in response to someone who inquired about them that diversifying our workforce is certainly a priority for IUFSD. And while not explicitly listed in my recent communication or the boards, I fully expect that a review of hiring practices and recruitment strategies will grow out of a root cause analysis that I'm going to commission through New York University. In such an analysis, the New York Metropolitan Center will review aspects of the district's programming practices and policies to determine where barriers may exist. They then will help to develop a strategic plan of action to create a more equitable experience for all students and to increase the focus on diversity. So I appreciate you sharing that with the community member who wrote. And with that, I would conditionally continue to support personnel items on our agendas going forward, knowing that this is a process that you've committed to, and I appreciate that.
Yes, and it's a process that's a part of a community effort and a community commitment, and working with all members of the Irvington school community, and certainly working closely with our partners with the PTSA Diversity Committee. We are eager to be announcing the first phase of those initiatives in the coming days, and I'll proudly present the board with a comprehensive contract proposal from NYU, likely at the next Board of Education meeting.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions on this consent agenda before we move forward? Okay, hearing none, can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda, please?
So moved.
Second? Maura? All in favor?
Aye.
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 So again, we have another point in the agenda for community comment. Again, please write to the board at our address, as I've said before, with any comments you may have. Our next public meeting will be Tuesday, August 25th at 6:30 p.m. Hopefully by that point in time, we'll be meeting in person, but I think at this point, everything is to be determined based on where we are with COVID and the various state requirements. So,
Mr. Friedman, if I just may make note that when the board approved the calendar tonight, we also added 2 additional meetings that will be scheduled, dates that will be scheduled on an as needed basis. So I do want to note for the community that there's the prospect of a board meeting on July 21st and August 11th. You'll note the asterisk on the agenda. Should those meetings be held, there will certainly be notice placed on the district website, and will be referenced in communications from the school district.
I think that actually, and also that goes back to discussions we had back in May and even June about the lack of guidance from the state regarding our financial picture. And obviously, if we get information, we're going to want to meet to discuss the impact and what else the district may need to do in light of the ever-changing fiscal landscape. So that's another one of the reasons why we have those placeholders in there, which depending on the pace of information from the state may be necessary sooner rather than later.
And I'd also add to that, if I may, that I anticipate a comprehensive presentation on the district's reopening plans that will be completed once guidance is provided by the state of New York.
Thank you. Can we get a motion to adjourn for an executive session to discuss
Pending litigation and employment history of particular persons.
pending litigation and employment history of particular persons?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you all, and congratulations
everyone.
to Ms. Wisner and to our officers for 2021.
Colleen?
Congratulations, Shane.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Jane.
Thank you very much. See you in a few.
Yes.